Now, what is S4HANA? S4HANA is all those parts we have seen until now. It is the digital core, also called S4 Enterprise Management, together with the cloud solutions supported by the cloud platform. So all these together form S4HANA, or the digital ERP. There are different versions of S4HANA. Fundamentally, we have two versions. We have the on-premise version and the cloud version. The on-premise version is called S4HANA. The cloud version is called S4HANA Cloud. Now, these two versions, they have a couple of variances. The on-premise version can be managed completely by yourself, as usual. So this is really the S4HANA on-premise version. But you can also say, okay, I don't want to manage the environment, the infrastructure. So you can say, okay, I want the S4HANA on-premise version managed by someone else. And one of those versions is called HEC, or HANA Enterprise Cloud. And this is the environment that is managed by SAP. So you have a S4HANA on-premise version, but the infrastructure is managed by SAP. Then we have the cloud versions that has fundamentally two variances. The first one is the S4HANA Cloud multi-tenant version. And this is the version where a company shares the same infrastructure with other companies. And then we have the S4HANA Cloud single-tenant version. And this is the environment where a company has a dedicated infrastructure for his company. So S4HANA multi-tenant means you have a sharing of infrastructure, or S4HANA Cloud single-tenant, where you have a dedicated environment to your company in the cloud infrastructure. What are the differences between those versions? Fundamentally, we have three versions. We have the S4HANA on-premise version, we have the S4HANA Cloud single-tenant version, and we have the S4HANA Cloud multi-tenant version. To compare those three versions, I will use four dimensions. The first dimension is the user interface dimension. The second dimension is the customizing dimension. The third dimension is the programming dimension. The fourth dimension is the infrastructure management dimension. The S4HANA on-premise version has access to all dimensions. You can make your own interfaces, you have full access to customizing, you can program the core, and you have to manage yourself the infrastructure. On the other hand, S4HANA Cloud multi-tenant can create own interfaces, so you can make own apps, for example. You have access to customizing, but to a Fiori-ized customizing, so it's a kind of a guided customizing. You have no access to the core, so you cannot do core programming, and you do not manage the infrastructure. And finally, the S4HANA Cloud single-tenant version has full access to the user interface. You can create your own apps. Has full access to customizing, so you have more capabilities than the multi-tenant version. You have a limited core programming capability, so you should not touch the core programming, but in exceptional situation you could have access on the core programming, and you have no access on the management of the infrastructure and the software. Now, what company is going to use what version of S4HANA? If you're a company that is using the business suite at this moment and you want to technically migrate to the S4HANA environment, this is called brownfield approach. So if you use the brownfield approach, you have to choose the S4HANA on-prem version. You can still choose to not manage it by yourself. You can still have the on-prem version managed by someone else, like for example SAP on the HANA Enterprise Cloud. But fundamentally, you have to migrate to the S4HANA on-prem version. On the other hand, if you are a company that is fast growing, that has a limited IT department, has no previous ERP implemented, then you can use the S4HANA Cloud multi-tenant environment. The S4HANA Cloud multi-tenant environment is an environment that can quickly be implemented and does not need a big IT department. And if you're a company that wants to make a new S4HANA implementation, the so-called greenfield approach, if you want to do a greenfield approach, you should go to the S4HANA Cloud single-tenant version, because it combines the breadth of capabilities of the on-premise version, so you have full access to customizing, together with all the advantages of the cloud deployment. What about the update frequency of those different versions? The S4HANA Cloud multi-tenant environment has an update every month. The S4HANA Cloud single-tenant version has an update every 6 months, but you can ask for delay. The S4HANA On-Premise Edition has an update every year, but you have to update at least every 5 years. The naming convention of the S4HANA systems is year, month. So when SAP releases a version in January, for example in 2020, the version will be the 2001 release. But on the other hand, for the on-premise version, SAP releases only once a year, and SAP releases the system in September of that year. So for example, in 2020, it will be the version 2009. I have an important question to you. How can you migrate the business suite to S4HANA when you know that S4HANA has a simplified data model? Has data model that is optimized for HANA, those big flat simple tables that run very fast on HANA. In the business suite, we have ABAP programs that are running with the old model tables. And now we have those 200,000 programs of ECC, they are now in S4HANA. How can they still run? To make the old programs work with the new tables, SAP will work through a virtual data model. So the ABAP programs do not talk directly with the HANA tables. There will be a layer between the HANA database and the ABAP programs. And this is a virtual data model. So what HANA does is it recreates the old tables in a virtual data model. Because the fields, they did not change. So when we looked at the old data model, we took the fields and the same field, the same semantics were put into a new big table. But all the fields are still available. So with the new tables, we can recreate the old tables in a virtual way. And so the ABAP programs, the old ABAP programs from ECC that is in S4, they can still run because they believe that the old tables are still there. The concept of the virtual data model is an essential part of the S4HANA architecture. I will take more time to explain this concept in the third part of this season.